The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Right, good morning everyone. Welcome to the next instalment of our Webfirm webinar series. It's very much an educational series, so we hope you are getting educated with the content that we've previously run. Just to familiarise and remind everyone, the last webinar was on the reporting functionality and reporting dashboard that Webfirm is now utilising mostly for its online marketing clients. This time around we are going to be talking about WordPress, which I'm particularly excited about because totally selfishly I chose this as a topic so I could skill myself up. But hopefully there's plenty of you in the audience today that are also going to get some nuggets of wisdom from myself, probably not myself, probably from the gentleman around the table with me today. Now, most of you are obviously clients of ours, so you're familiar with who we are. But there are some guests on the call as well. But for everyone on the call today, we are a full-service digital agency, so you may hear that term a lot. In effect, what it means is we provide everything through from hosting of websites, email hosting, web design, web development, mobile website development, WordPress conversions, which we'll be touching on today, of course, and then everything in your online marketing suite, right through from SEO, content generation, social media marketing, AdWords campaigns, email marketing, the whole shebang. We're ASX listed under our parent company AdSlot, which we're very proud to say. AdSlot do share an office with us here in central Melbourne. They've also got a presence up in Sydney and indeed across the globe. We've been around for 17 years now, so we're still a teenager, but soon to be an adult in a couple of years. We were reflecting on our time with the company, and Tristan, who will be speaking to you shortly, who's our general manager, he's been with the company 10 years recently. So he's certainly seen I guess the development of us as a digital agency during that time. Give or take, over those 17 years, we have helped over 5,000 companies. So we have, helped a lot of companies indeed across Australia. We did start over in Perth, so we've got a really good footprint over there still, but we've also helped a lot of companies over this side of the country on the eastern seaboard too. The webinar agenda. So, of course, today we'll be speaking about WordPress. I've already done a bit of an introduction. We may do a little bit more of that shortly when Tristan joins us. We're going to be talking about how to log in. So for those of you who maybe have a WordPress website who aren't totally confident with actually getting into the back end of the website, we will be taking you through step by step on how to do that. Once we get into there, we will be talking about the various aspects, elements and components of your dashboard, which ones are the more important for you to know about, and maybe the ones that we would recommend leaving for the professionals, aka us. Also, we'll be showing you how to edit your homepage and also the other pages throughout your website. I'm particularly interested in that. We'll be talking about the SEO benefits of WordPress, so the benefits of utilising WordPress as a content management system to host your website, and the spin-off benefits in terms of your online marketing successes as well. We will be talking about how to add additional pages. When we do that, I believe Luke, who is also here with me today, is actually going to show you I guess some funky functionality, we'll call it, on that page. So I'm looking forward to everyone seeing that. We'll be talking about how to add a blog post, particularly important for those of you who are looking to increase your visibility and presence in the online marketing world, and indeed your organic rankings. We'll be talking about how to manage your menu. So when you see your navigation menu across the top of your website, we'll show you very simply how to organize and change that as you want to. We'll be talking about creating and changing forms, and we'll be doing a little bit on that page that Luke is going to create for us all shortly. And we'll be tying up everything as we normally do with a Q&A session. Now, as I've already alluded to, I have with me today Tristan Jones, who's the General Manager of Webfirm. Welcome, Tristan.
G'day, Reese. How are we?
Very good, very good. And also I have Luke Hayes. Luke Hayes is our most experienced, I would say, within the back end of WordPress. Many of you have probably dealt with Luke. He conducts all of our training sessions, I would say, for our WordPress training for once the websites go live. So he's going to have plenty of golden little nuggets to share with you all today. Welcome, Luke.
Hello, Reese. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So a bit of an introduction. I might hand this over to the esteemed Tristan to take us through this and talk about the benefits of WordPress, where it's come from, and the benefits of you, the users.
Great. Thanks, Reese. Good to be on the call today and to be speaking to so many of you out there in Australia wanting to learn a bit about WordPress. So to give everyone a bit of I suppose a 101 in WordPress and what it is and why it's useful. WordPress was originally developed as a blogging platform. So that means that originally it was designed to work as a subdomain or as like a separate entity, a separate part of your website just for the blogging component. Over time, that's really changed and developed, and it's become now the world's most popular content management system. So a content management system is basically a system that allows you to manage the bits and pieces of content on your website, and in a lot of cases change some things about how it looks or how it functions.
You've got some interesting statistics around that shortly.
I do, yeah. So WordPress is actually the world's #1 content management system. There are at least 75 million websites using WordPress.
Wow.
Which is 27.5% of all the websites on the internet. So you can see the scale at which WordPress has been sort of rolled out across the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes actually 26% of the world's top 10,000 websites by traffic. So that means that enterprise level businesses that are getting a lot of traffic, as well as your smaller businesses, and blogs and newspaper sites and that kind of thing around the internet, everyone's using WordPress in an equal amount. So there's no case of WordPress is too small fry for my business. It works for everyone.
Yeah, so traditionally, I guess when there's a lot of, there's a feeling out there in the market is when you do talk about WordPress as a content management system, it's thought of as sometimes as a small business platform to build a website on. The statistics that Tristan just outlined, suggest otherwise quite strongly.
Yeah, precisely. So it's got to a point where I recommend WordPress in just about every situation, mainly because of another thing that you can see on the screen there, which is that it's open source. So open source means it's free to download, so anyone can grab the latest copy of WordPress from the WordPress website, install it on a server, and get up and running with it. But the fact that it's open source means that there's thousands of contributors, programmers who work on WordPress every week, who want to make it better, find any security holes or improvements that need to be made,
right.
Develop new plugins and themes so people can make their websites sing and look a bit prettier than they are, and provide more functionality. So rather than if you develop a website with a custom-made CMS, maybe one that you just get a programmer to make for you, the minute that person stops working on the CMS or on the website, it starts becoming out of date. Whereas if you use an open source CMS, there's constantly updates happening, improvements, and any security holes are getting plugged.
And there's, evidence of that is the number of plugins that are available. Tristan, I guess there's a lot of smart boffins out there around the world that are always tinkering away in their back sheds, maybe creating these wonderful new plugins for us to use, and certainly keep WordPress up to date and fresh all the time.
Yeah, precisely. So it's definitely a powerful tool to have at your disposal, in my view.
Great.
So all those reasons and more, which it'll become evident once you sort of see inside WordPress in a moment, it's the choice of CMS that we have for the large majority of the websites that we build.
Okay. Perfect.
So what we might do here is jump into, I suppose, the first part of the demonstration.
Yep, lovely. We'll just swap screens here. Just a moment, everyone.
So what we're first going to go through is a bit of an introduction to the WordPress dashboard and what's involved on that dashboard and how to do a few basic things. So the demonstration site we're going to use today is just this example site that we've sort of built up for this purpose, which is our professional pet groomers website. This is not a real client of Webfirm's. This is just a website that we've made up for this purpose.
So for any pet groomers out there, perfect website to go to the market.
It's ready to go.
Yep. Yeah. There's a market opportunity.
Exactly. So this website is obviously on WordPress. So if we wanted to get into the back end and make some changes, the first thing we need to do is go to, hopefully you can see my cursor here in the address bar. We've got petgroom.webfirmdemo.com. So if this was a live website, it might be something like petgroom.com.au. But at the end, if you just put your cursor there and go /wp-admin, or usually just /admin will work as well. If we go to that address there, it brings up our login screen. So if you've got a WordPress website, someone will have given you a username and a password. If you've got WordPress through Webfirm and you don't have your username and password, do get in touch and we can give that to you. So you just pop your username in here. So we've got an example one, put in admin_Webfirm, and then we've got our password. And then all you need to do to log in is push the blue button. So I'll push that there. You may have noticed on that last screen that there was a forgot password feature. So if you forget your password but you do remember your username or your email address, you can pop your email address or username in, push that button, and it can reset the password for you in a similar way to what you might see on another website.
Any suggestions, Tristan, on password? Webfirm123 probably not recommended.
Probably not, Reese. So one of the main things that you can do to protect the security of your website is to have a challenging password. A lot of people like to have a password that's easy to remember, but if you do that and a robot could go around and guess it, so for example, you use password 123,
right,
or your name or your website's name or password, robots are going to be able to more easily guess that password. So you would definitely want to use something a bit more challenging if you can. So we use internally here a program that you can plug into Chrome, if you use Chrome browser, called LastPass, which can generate some sort of challenging passwords and save them for you, so you don't need to remember them.
I resisted using that for a long time, but when I started using it, it changed my life. So I would highly recommend it.
Excellent. Okay, so now we've logged in and we've landed ourselves on the dashboard screen. So I'm just going to give you a bit of an introduction to what's involved here. While you're logged into WordPress, this top black strip is always going to be here. So it gives you a quick way to get back to your website if you want to look at how the website's going after you've made some changes. So you just do that, you hover over the pet groom and go visit site. Across here, you've got easy access to be able to add a new post or another type of item. And then most importantly, all the way over on the right-hand side, if you hover over your name, then there's the logout button there. So if you're updating your website on a public computer or a computer that you share with someone else, you can push the logout button there to make sure that no one else can get in after you're done. On the left-hand side, you'll find all the different functions that have been put into your website. So sometimes this will be the functions that someone's programmed for you specifically. If your website's got something interesting about it. So on this website, it's got a portfolio and a testimonials extra function.
So that's a custom
plugin. Yeah, custom posts is what we call them.
Okay, right.
And then a lot of the other settings, or other options on the left-hand side here are available on all websites, all WordPress websites. if you add a new plugin, often it will add a new item in this menu.
Okay, so this seems relatively straightforward, this one.
It's pretty straightforward, so I'll just quickly loop down and explain what each of the functions is and what they do. So when you first land on the log into WordPress, you get this dashboard screen. As you can see, there's not too much going on. It tells you how many posts and how many pages you've got, and we'll get into what those are in a second, and just some really basic information. But for the most part, there's not much to see on this first page. The second one down is updates. So once you go into the update section, you'll see a list of the plugins and themes on your website, and we'll explain what those are in a second as well, that have had a new version created by those people we were talking about before, the thousands of developers around the world.
Yes.
And it gives you the opportunity to update those plugins and themes.
So should our clients be doing these updates themselves, Tristan?
What we typically say is it's probably best if you leave the updating schedule to Webfirm to handle for you. So in some cases, it's going to be completely fine to update a plugin. In some cases, it might break your website.
So that's when we've added custom posts, for example, that may not.
Exactly, yeah. So it's probably best if you leave those kinds of things to Webfirm where you can. The next things down the left-hand side here is the posts. So this is basically, you can remember posts as just being blogs for the most part. Right. So this is where we put our blogs when we want to add or edit those.
Okay. Probably a good one to highlight, because I know that there's going to be a lot of people on the call today that may be posting their own blogs, and sometimes they go in here and they're like, well, hang on, where's the blogging section? Are we meant to be adding these as pages or what? It's always going to be called a post, so always go to your post section.
Yeah, so there is a sort of a distinction between posts and pages. A page is a bit of content that you're always going to want to have visible on the site and easily accessible. And a post, I suppose, is something that over time might become a bit older and a bit staler. It's more like a news article.
Okay.
So as you add more posts, you're going to just keep knocking the old ones down the list, and they'll get a bit less
relevant
airtime. Yeah. Okay, and then down the left-hand side, there's a couple of things here, categories and tags. So each blog post, you can add a category, which sort of, I suppose, categorizes that post. You might have a category called news, and another category called industry announcements.
Yeah.
If you want to separate things into two different
new
sections.
Grooming features.
New grooming, exactly.
New dog haircut trends, that sort of thing.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So we'll move on. So down here we have the pages section. So this is, as I was just saying, the section where you want to have all your different pages that are going to be mostly accessible through the navigation menus on the website. So you can see we've got a list here of all the different pages on the site. The front page is marked with this little dash front page, and we're going to show you how to update something on the home page in a moment.
Okay.
We keep scrolling down and you get the other pages on the website. If we keep going down the list here, portfolio and testimonials, we will skip over those. They're basically little custom posts. So if someone came to us as a customer and said they've got a new testimonial, we can quickly jump in here, go to testimonials and add a new one.
It's got a set structure.
It's got a set structure. So when we add a testimonial in, we always need to put in the name of the testimonial and some text and the website that the testimonials come from. Right. And that means that when it goes into the website, it stays in a proper structure and doesn't look untidy, I suppose.
Okay, so it makes it easier for those non-developers out there to quickly put a post up in the right structure.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Then we've got the media library. So one thing WordPress does really well is keep a nice big collection of all the different photos and PDFs that we've uploaded over time. So you might go out and see a customer when you're grooming dogs and take a nice photo of a dog getting a bath. And if you want to upload that to the media library, you can do that before you've even written the blog post about it. And that way, when you need that picture, you can go back and use it later on, like Luke is going to do in a moment. Yeah.
Okay.
You can really easily drag and drop photos from your computer onto WordPress here, and it'll just upload it really quickly into the media library.
So any restriction on how many photos or the size of photos we upload?
No, for the most part, if it's a photo, it'll upload and it'll resize photos down into a usable format, so you don't need to worry too much about resizing them or photoshopping them before you upload them.
Okay, cool.
We'll probably skip over forms, but basically the forms section here is where we put in the settings for different forms we've got on the website. So if you want to have a contact form and then another form for a booking form, like Luke is going to show us in a bit.
You're spoiling surprises now, mate.
This is where we put the forms. Comments. If someone posts a comment on your blog, often what we do with WordPress blogs that we build is we sort of disable the commenting features. But if you've got those enabled, then the comments will be displayed in here. But for the most part, you don't need to worry about the comments. Contact is just a different type of form. We'll skip over that as well. Under appearance, this is where you can change a few of the things about the way the website works. So if I go into appearance and then themes, you can see in here we've got a few different themes that have been installed on this website, and the one that we've got active is the Webfirm bridge theme, which we've built. Now, it is easy to switch between themes in theory, but what we'll find is if we do that, a lot of the time the website's not going to look exactly how you might expect. So normally what we would say is leave that theme switching to the professionals.
Yeah.
If we go further down in the appearance section, we'll skip over widgets, but Luke's going to show us menus in a second. Menus allows us to change what's in the header navigation menu in the footer so that we can change the pages that appear. So we might want to have a new page that's called About Us or something like that, or rearrange the order that the pages go in the menus, and you can do that through there.
Yeah, it's an important one too, because I've seen websites, I know you've shown me websites, Tristan, where people have started adding everything to their menu. Their top navigation all of a sudden becomes very, very cramped. So if you are adding new pages regularly and new content, it is a good, please pay attention to Luke's demonstration shortly, because it will allow you to maintain it and keep it a bit more, it'll keep it more cleansed, if you will, and a little bit more narrowed and focused.
Exactly, yeah. Then we get into plugins. So every website in WordPress will have a bunch of plugins that have been chosen by the developers to, I suppose, achieve the outcome that you're trying to get for your website. So there's some plugins that Webfirm really relies on pretty heavily to do some of the things like make forms work, allow us to simplify the WordPress backend so that our customers don't have to wade through too many features to see what they need to do.
Right.
Speed the website up is a really big one. So really making sure that the websites are quick so that when Google's crawling them and when customers are using them, they really zip. And redirecting one website address to another. So there's a few different plugins that we use all the time. The other thing is, as I was saying before, there's thousands and thousands of plugins available on the internet, which you can sort of browse through and add pretty quickly to a WordPress website to let you do new things.
So how long have we been building WordPress websites for, Tristan?
Around, what are we talking, 5 years now? Okay.
So, because even in my time, so I've been with the business 2 to 3 years now, and I know that in my time there's certain plugins that we've superseded with newer, better plugins. So all of the plugins that we're selecting for your website, we're strategically selecting to make sure that we've got the best of the best that's available out there at the moment. Typically, they can cost money in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So if you see plugins in your website, generally we've been very strategic with how we've selected those, just to make sure that, as Tristan said, they make the website run really, really well, but also really quick at the same time.
Yeah. So you might find some plugins around the place if you're trying to achieve a certain thing that have only been installed by a handful of people around the world. Generally, that's a little bit more risky than using one of the really well-known ones.
Yeah, and as a rule, we wouldn't do that.
We would try and stick to the really popular ones that we know lots of people are testing out and using every day.
Getting updated regularly,
exactly.
Bugs getting fixed, that sort of thing.
Yep. So if we keep going further down, we've got users. So another great thing about WordPress is that you can have as many users as you want, which means that if you've got people coming and going from your organization, you can give each person a username and a password. And then when that person leaves, if they leave, then you can just remove their user.
Okay.
And that means that everyone else can keep using the password they have. You don't need to be constantly changing the password for security reasons because that one person is the only person that had that password. So you just get rid of that user and it works really well.
So as a rule of thumb, if we had a business and we had, let's say, 5 to 10 people working on the website individually, would you recommend having individual logins for each
best practice would
user?
be to have an individual login for each user. They might not all need to be an administrator. So the 2 people we've got on the website here are administrators, which allows them to do everything in WordPress, and there's nothing that they get restricted from.
Okay, so what are the other levels?
There's a couple of other levels. There's author level, so they're people that can add blog posts and edit pages and so forth.
Okay.
Then there's contributors as well. So there's a few different levels of users, and we can actually add more users, user levels rather, if we need to get something a bit more complex going. But for the most part, most people are going to want to be administrators, and what we sort of say is it's better to have the full access, but then be taught what to change and what not to touch.
Right. So don't be scared of those people with big thumbs on the keyboard. Just make sure they get the right tutorial at the front end.
Exactly. Yep. We'll keep pushing down. If we go to your profile, this is where we can actually jump in and change some of the details about our own profile. So if I wanted to label this as me, I'd say Tristan, Jones in the name here, and then we can come down to our biographical info and put a bit of information.
Tristan loves llamas.
He does. Upload a profile picture if we wanted to. On some websites, that'll allow a little picture of you, a little sort of avatar to come up if you've posted a blog post.
Okay.
But the thing you're going to use the most is changing the password. So WordPress is, again, really secure. If I push generate password, this is going to come up with a really challenging gobbledygook password, which no one's going to guess in a million years. But it does mean you need to sort of copy and paste that into somewhere that you can remember it. Alternatively, you can try and type a new password in. But if I type the word password, which I'm going to do now, PASSWORD, it's going to tell me that's a very weak password. And so to confirm that I wanted to use that, which we won't do, I'll tick that confirm password. But WordPress is just trying to give us a clue that it's a bad idea to use a password that someone's going to guess. Yeah,
and we can't stress it enough how important this is. Your website is obviously a representation of your business, the people inside the business. If you do have a password that isn't strong like the one Tristan showed up a moment ago, definitely not the password one, we would recommend changing it just because of the fact that if someone out there was to hack your website and put up undesirable messages of whatever nature, it wouldn't be the best for your business. So an easy change to make.
Precisely, that's the one. So further down here, you can sort of see these functions underneath where it has the users, for the most part, are always going to be plugins. So we won't go into each of those individually, but suffice to say there's a bunch of different plugins that are installed on the website, and each of those have their own little settings. Usually you're not going to need to jump in here and change too much. You can always call Webfirm up and ask a question if you need to.
Okay.
So what we're going to do now is just jump back up, and I'm going to show people how to do something a bit more interesting and edit a page on their website. So we're going to edit the home page. So to do that, we go over to the left-hand side and we find the pages section, and we go to all pages.
Great. I'm going to do a quick time check on you now, Tristan. I know you love to talk.
I do.
We're half an hour in, so let's keep this nice pace moving.
All right, so we go to the home page, and what I did there, was hovered over the name home and clicked that. And so what this does is bring up our editing screen. So this website has got a plugin called Visual Composer or Page Builder, installed, which makes it easy to come up with a sort of a funky layout for the home, for the page. If I go back to the home page over here, once that comes up, we'll see that it's sort of divided into some columns here. So we've got into a mess, overdue haircut, makeover. So let's say we've decided that we're going to offer discounted haircuts on Saturdays and Sundays now, because we're finding that we can get more work done on those days. So if I go to back to the WordPress backend and I scroll down a bit in my page builder here, I can see this is where I've got the 3 columns we were just looking at before. And as I hover over each section, you get a little green box appear. And if I push on the little pencil, that says Edit Text Block, brings up another screen where I can see that I've got the text that I was just looking at on the website. So if I scroll down and change discounted haircuts available on Saturdays and put and Sundays, so you basically just use it the same way you would if you were editing an email or using Microsoft Word. If I don't want that to be bold and italic, I can highlight it and take that off. And if I want to change the color to something else, I can click on that and change it to red. And I go Save Changes.
Fantastic.
And you'll notice in this little column here, we've got that word's changed and the Sundays has been added. And then what we want to do is have a look at how that's going to look on the website. So we like to preview things before we deploy them, before we push them live. And you can do that by going over to Preview over here and clicking on that. That brings up another tab and gives us a preview of what the page is going to look like. If we scroll down, we can see now we've got and Sundays, and then this word has been changed to red.
And look at that. Fantastic.
And then we made a change. So then
it was relatively easy.
If we go back to the home page here inside WordPress, all we need to do then to finish that off is to push the update button.
And it's live.
And it's live.
Just like that.
Just like that. So probably not as challenging or overwhelming as people might imagine, but you can sort of see how quickly you can jump in and really make sure your website's up to date and fitting the needs that you've got for your business. So yeah, really important.
Relatively easy as well, and it's, you know, services are getting updated all the time. People are adding, you know, changing things like this, maybe moving addresses. So we really encourage you. Like, we're always going to be here. You can always call us. We're always happy to help out. But if we can empower you to do more of this yourself in the moment when you need it to be done, you know, I think it's a good outcome.
Yeah, you're going to get more out of your business for sure.
So let's now talk about the SEO benefits of WordPress, Tristan.
Yes.
You've just shown me one of them. Adding content is really, really easy, which is what Google always likes to see. Us engaging with our website, adding new content, showing that we care about the content on our website and showing that it's relevant and current. I know there's something pretty snazzy you can do with the actual links on your website, the URLs. Can you talk about that? What do we call permalinks?
Permalinks, yeah. So I'll just explain what those are, I suppose, first up. If I go back to the front end of the website here and go to the About Us page, and then what you'll see, if you look at the title of the address bar up the top here, you've got petgroom.webfirmdemo.com/About Us. And that might be okay, but say for instance we wanted to change the name of the page to say About Tristan. So if Tristan's the owner of the business, we want to change it to About Tristan. So well, while I'm here, a little funky tip: while you're logged into WordPress, if you see the little black bar at the top here and you see the Edit Page button, that means that you can sort of skip straight through to the page where you can edit this.
Rather than navigating through the...
Yeah, rather than having to go back into WordPress, find pages, find the About Us page, we can just push Edit Page.
Great tip. You hit it here first.
So once I click that one, you've got the little you've got the page title here, so it says about us. And then we've got what we call a permalink, which is the link that the website, the link that the page appears on.
Yes.
We can quickly jump into here and push edit, and then change this to about Tristan. Push OK, and sort of change the look of the website. So this is actually more than just being a personal glory thing for myself and having a page named after me. If we wanted to have an SEO strategy focused around a keyword, say we wanted to get found more for Tristan or Sunday dog groomers or whatever it might be,
yep.
We can change the permalink so that the page URL really reflects what the page is about and what we want to get found for,
right.
Which is really important for our search engine optimization.
And so why is this so good? Why is WordPress so good at this? I guess what we're saying is it's not as easy on other platforms or older platforms?
On older platforms, you'd probably need to get a programmer to jump in and make some changes to the way that the back-end code works in order to be able to get that kind of functionality. But the great thing about WordPress is that it's built in from the beginning, so you don't need to go back and ask a developer to add that in for you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and so we touched on earlier, the open source nature of WordPress.
Exactly, so it's getting updated and improved by lots of people all the time, and that includes people who are very passionate about making sure WordPress websites work well with Google.
Mm-hmm.
So Google's often changing its sort of standards in terms of what it's looking for when it's going around the web crawling websites.
Mm-hmm.
The people who make WordPress are sort of updating the code in terms of how the back-end code appears so that Google sees these WordPress websites as favorable. So if you're using an older platform, you might find that over time the standard of the code in the background is sort of falling a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And WordPress, I suppose, gets around that problem.
So to put that in layman's speak for myself, what we're saying is there's evidence out there to suggest that Google prefers to look at websites like websites that have a back end of WordPress because its little robots find it a lot easier to crawl through the back end and bring out the information it needs in order to rank sites appropriately on Google's organic results, sorry.
Exactly. If we make life easy for Google when it's going around the web looking, then it'll rank our websites more favorably.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that sort of leads into Yoast.
Yes.
From a plugin perspective.
One of the plugins that we install on every website that we do these days with WordPress is called Yoast Seo for WordPress, and it's the world's most popular SEO plugin. And it allows us to make some really key changes to the way that our pages get viewed by Google, just through the same interface that we're changing the content in. So I'll just demonstrate that quickly on this page. So if I scroll down this About Us page, down past the content, and we get to this little box here that says Yoast Seo. So I'm just going to expand that by clicking on the little arrow. On this screen here, then we get a little preview of, it's called a snippet preview, but it's basically what Google will look like if this website gets found or this page gets listed. So at the moment it says About Us, Pet Groom, and then it's got our URL that we just changed to About Tristan. So let's say, for example, we want to get found for cat groom on this page. So I put cat groom into our focus keyword little box here, which gives the plugin something to work off. And then we can really easily click inside the snippet here and change some of these things to try and get this little icon, which is currently orange, to turn to green. That's the idea. So I click on that. We change the SEO title, which is this first blue heading here. We might say, what are we doing?
Cat groom.
Cat groom. Cat groom Perth.
Right.
So you can see now we're using the full width of what Google's giving us to work with. And so the little SEO title bar here has gone green, so that's a good thing.
And we could also do that for the slug and the meta description as well.
Yeah, so instead of calling it About Tristan, we could call it About Cat Groom. and then we can write a description. So the description, actually, it's just been recently found that it doesn't impact directly the Google rankings for your page, but it does impact the percentage of time that people are likely to click through to your website. So you can put a salesy type message in here. It is best practice to include the keywords. So if I go, cat groom is a great thing to be doing for your cat, and then add that a couple of different times. That's too long. And there we can see we've got a green bar saying that we've used about the right length of description.
Yeah, so Tristan's obviously simplified that somewhat, just to speed up the process today. But what we're looking for there in that bottom snippet is it's merely an ad, isn't it? For someone to look at that and go, right, this is the sort of service I need, I want, I'm looking for with my search, and they'll click on it and go through.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I guess that the important thing to note about Yoast, and you may be planning to say this already, Tristan, but including a plugin like Yoast Seo on your WordPress website isn't necessarily going to mean that all of a sudden you start ranking really well for your keywords. It's merely a tool that you can use.
Yeah, exactly.
To make the jobs like this or tasks like this to perform under the umbrella of SEO a little bit more simple and straightforward.
Exactly. There is a bit of a misconception among some people that just installing the SEO plugin itself is going to give your site SEO or magically make it start ranking. It's really just giving you the building blocks to be able to implement some of these SEO tasks a lot easier. Yeah,
because it's amazing how many websites we come across that are built in other platforms outside of WordPress that make it very, very difficult from an online marketing standpoint to just do simple things like this in order to rank more highly. So when we find websites that are built in WordPress, and indeed, right across the market, other online marketing professionals would say the same, we clap our hands and say, yay, we can do what we need to do to make Google happy. So I think what we'll do, Tristan, unless you've got anything else to add from an SEO standpoint, just to really highlight that we know that websites built in WordPress do rank more highly in terms of SEO, just because of the fact that generally we can do a lot more with them. It's not to say that other websites can't rank as highly, it just means that it's more simple when you've got a WordPress
We know that
website.
the technical SEO elements, a lot of them, if you use WordPress, are already in the background, already implemented. We don't need to spend time on them, and we can spend time value adding in other ways. So really putting some thinking into all these wording, the keyword research, those kinds of things.
Yep. Right, so I'm going to let Tristan hand over to Luke. Thank you, Luke. So Luke is going to be taking us through adding additional pages and also adding blog posts, managing your menus, and also creating and changing forms. Now, I know for a fact that when we went through a bit of a run through of this session earlier, Luke's going to try and do all of that and more in one overall presentation, which is really exciting.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that and seeing the process that he sort of works through in his mind in order to be able to conduct this task. So I will hand it over to you, Luke. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reese. Hello, everyone. It's good to speak to you today on the webinar. Today I'm going to be showing you how to add a new page and to kind of kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to be showing you how to add that page to the navigation, as well as beef out that page with a booking form.
Right. It sounds difficult.
It sounds difficult, but it is pretty simple. So I'm just going to give you the basics today, and if you've got any questions, you can always give me a call here in the office. So because we're looking at a pet grooming website today, the thing that stands out to me is that there's no booking page. So if we were to click this booking button, it would go nowhere. So let's add the page for it.
And you love convenience, Luke. I know for a fact you love convenience.
I do love convenience. If I was looking on a website, I wouldn't want to speak to anyone. I would just want to send them an email or book in a service.
And I've seen that in action. So you would not be booking here, would you?
Not at this stage, no. So I like to just so you get an idea of how I work, I like to have the home page open in one tab, and I like to have the back end open in another. And that just allows me to flick back and forth quite quickly.
And generally, you'll have 2 or 3 screens around you as well.
Yes. And if this was my computer, there'd probably be 50 other tabs as well.
Right, right.
So first of all, we're going to click Pages on the left-hand side, and then we're going to go Add New. So the page we're creating today is going to be called Booking, or Book Now.
Mm-hmm.
Just using words that make people want to click it. So if we have Book Now, someone's probably going to go, oh yeah, I want to book now.
Right, like a CTR or a call to action.
So it's a very subtle call to action to have in the navigation.
Mm.
Then we'll add the page content. So I've cheating. I've got it.
This is like a cooking show.
It is like a cooking show. So in here is some text that I've created earlier, and I'm just going to paste that in there. So if we preview this, because I like to see how things are looking,
okay.
The preview will open up in a third tab. And we can see the page is looking pretty boring. We probably want to add like a nice picture to the top.
A bit of a hero image.
Yeah, a hero image. The text is looking okay, so that's fine. So let's go ahead and add that image.
So where do we do that?
So on most websites that we build, your header image is probably going to be here in Set Featured Image.
Okay.
This particular site's a little bit different. So I'm going to scroll down the bottom. And I'm going to upload my background image here. We'll just have this nice picture of the dog. And we'll just add a couple more settings here. I'm not going to walk through this because most websites don't have these settings. We would have simplified it for you. Cool. So this time I'm going to publish it, and that's going to save the page, and it's going to be live for everyone to see at petgroom.com/booknow. Great. So we've got the image, our title's looking fabulous, and we've got our text.
Great.
So just with the text, I might actually tidy it up a little bit.
So I know you're not trying to race here, but this is taking us 3 minutes.
That's right.
It would have taken me longer to make a cup of coffee.
So as you'll see, all the text in the moment is just paragraph text. And what I want to do is make these services stand out a little bit more.
Mm.
So I'm just going to make those heading 3s.
So while you're doing this, Luke, heading 3, is that something we would have preset during the website build, so that when they select these titles, we would have already preset the size, if they're bold, et cetera, et cetera?
That's right. So when you press this this drop down here, you'll see that we've got paragraph text, heading 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 6.
Okay.
When we develop a website, we'll program the styles attached to that heading.
Okay.
And then that will save, having to pick fonts and colors and weights and things like that.
And it's consistent across the whole website?
It'll be consistent across every page. So I'm just going to update that again. So the next thing I would like to do to this particular page is add a contact form to it so that people can
now we're getting clever.
Send through a booking inquiry. To do that today, I'm going to be using Gravity Forms. So on the left hand, that shows up as forms.
This is an example of a plugin, guys. This is a plugin that we've selected. A lot of websites have Gravity Forms, Luke?
Yes, this is a premium plugin that we put on most websites. I personally like this one because it's got a drop and drag editor, so it just simplifies the experience for the user.
Okay, right. And Contact Form 7, that's something else we've used for
some other
7,
websites? Yes, we tend not to use that as much these days because it isn't as user-friendly on the back end.
Right.
But sometimes we need to do custom functionality for forms.
Okay.
So that one allows us to put a bit more code in than Gravity Forms would. So I'm just going to go add new next to forms and give the form a title, which is going to be book now, and press create. So you'll see it's already prompting me what to do next. So on the left-hand side here, it's telling me to select a field type. And on the right-hand side, you'll see that we've got some options for fields. So rather than, doing all this manually, I can select ones that they've already created for me. So for a booking form, I want to add a name. So I'm just going to click that. And you'll see that we've got our first name and last name fields here on the left.
Mm-hmm.
As you hover over, and you'll get some extra options here. So we can delete or duplicate this particular field if we wanted 2 of them, but obviously we want 1.
But only name twice.
We want that, yeah. This little arrow here we can click, and that's going to expand and show us options relating to this particular first name and last name field.
Mm-hmm.
So because it's a form and because we want people to fill this out, I'm just going to tick required. Otherwise people will skip it and you won't know the name of the person that's contacting you.
Okay.
So we're also going to add an email address field.
Make that required as well.
Yeah, so on the right, I'm just going to click on that. You can also drag it over if the clicking's not working. So again, just going to enable that as a required field. We're going to add date. So with the date field, because this particular form, we're not hooking it up to some booking system that's going to know if someone's already booked that date and time. We're just going to rename this field in the options and put preferred date.
Good. Spell check.
Spell check. Preferred date. And the options, we're going to have a date picker, and that way people can select it from a calendar rather than, putting in October or something like that with no context.
Okay. Not liking my clicking mouse.
I'm not a Windows user and I'm blaming that. So I'm just going to add the time field so that they can select a time. And the only thing left, I'm going to put a standard field in there for a comment box. So the one to select here is a paragraph text, just so that they've got a lot of space.
Like comments.
Wiggle room to move.
Yep.
And we're going to rename it from Untitled to Comments. I won't make that required because the only things I really need to make a booking would be the first name, last name,
email and date.
Yeah, and
okay.
We might put phone number in there as well.
Just because we can.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this form has every field that I could want now.
Great. So do we update it now?
Yeah. To save it, I just need to press update. And you'll see it's notified me that the save was successful. So next step from here would be adding it to the page we've created. So we need to go back to pages and find the booking page that we've created and go back into the editor by clicking on the title. Now, because I want to add a booking form to this, I think the best place would be on the right-hand side. So as the text editor is at the moment, it's just doing a full page width of text. I want to split that up into 2 columns and then have my booking form on the right. So to do that, I'm going to switch from the standard text editor, which is what we're looking at now, and I'm going to switch it to a visual composer like Tristan was showing you on the front page. So by clicking that big blue button there, it switches back and forth. So the beauty of having a visual composer is then that we can then split the content up into columns. So you'll see by clicking here, I've split it up into 2, or if you wanted, you could have up to 4 columns across there.
Right. So not every WordPress site has this, but as a value add for our clients, when we build WordPress sites, we include it.
Usually, some sites wouldn't require it, but I like to put it on most sites just so that our clients have a bit more power to create pages down the track if they need.
Right.
So I've got my text column on the left and I've got a blank column on the right. So what I want to do is press the plus symbol, and I want to select gravity forms because that's the content I want it to fill. And I want to select the form book now that we've created.
Great.
If I press save, that's going to add it in there. And I also want to add a text block for a title above the form.
Okay.
Now with Visual Composer, each element that hovers with the little green box, you can drag them into other positions. So I definitely want the title above the contact form.
Makes sense to me. So is that it? We're done?
Yeah, so just save your changes, which is the update button.
And look at our page.
And if we go back here and press refresh, or reload, voila, we've got our book now form on the right hand side.
You are so clever.
With all the fields that we want to collect off our customer, including the date picker and the time.
Right.
If I press submit, you'll see the form will then highlight all the fields that are required that we haven't filled in yet.
Right.
And it gives people a clear message about what they need to do to make that successful.
So something that I've spotted here that I know you can probably show us is that it's not up in our, there's not a link in our navigation currently for that.
That's right. So most of the time our navigations are manually managed because you might have pages in the back end that you definitely don't want people to see.
Right.
So the next step, we've created our page, we've added our booking form, we need to add it in that navigation. So we can go to the back-end editor again. The menus is kept under appearance, so we want to go appearance and menus. The menu editor will then load. The first thing you want to do is make sure you've got the correct menu selected. So most sites will have more than one. It'll usually have a footer menu and a top navigation menu. You might also have a separate navigation for a mobile site,
right,
or some inner pages, but they're usually really clearly labeled. So just make sure you select the one. Yeah, so we want to add book now to the top navigation. Now, because we've already created the page, it's showing up here in our most recent list. You could also go view all, or you could search for it. In most cases.
It's because of the capitals, maybe.
Could be.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just going to put a tick in the box on the most recent and then just go add to menu. Now, when adding it to the menu, it's always going to pop it right down here at the bottom of it. And then This is a drop and drag editor, so I can move it into any position that I would prefer. So I'm quite happy for it to stay there. That's a good spot for it. If your navigation is getting a bit long, you might want to create submenus. So to create a submenu, you would just need to drag an item over to the right-hand side. So if we were to do that, the others and the blog menu would show up as a drop-down under About Us.
Okay. Makes sense.
But because we've still got a bit of space in ours, I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to have it on the right, the very end, because that's what I want people to do the most. I'd rather them book than call me, which is the contact one. So if I reload the page now, we've got book now.
Great. Easy.
Very easy.
So I'm looking at the time. We've hit 12:30, but I don't think it would take too long to show people how to load a blog before some quick Q&A.
Yeah. So
this is pretty straightforward.
It's very straightforward, yeah. So in the back end, blog posts are always showed under posts here. It's pretty much the same as adding a page. So you just need to go posts, add new, and then fill in the spots available. So top 5 dog haircuts. You can put your content in here. So pretend that's a nice big article. I'm going to pop it in a category saying we might categorize it under lists. So top 5 would be a list. We might add some tags. So this one's about haircuts. We'll add a tags. So tags and categories is just a nice way to file your blog article. And then the only thing missing is an image. So I'm going to go set featured image.
A lot of clients forget to do this, to add an image. It can make a very dull blog look very good just with a simple ad.
Yeah, that's right. So having an image with an article just makes it look so much more visually appealing. So I'm going to add my thing. If I wanted to, I could fill out the Yoast Seo and just make sure that's all good. But because Tristan's gone over that, I won't worry about that today. Hit publish.
So that's it. We've published a blog.
That's it.
And it tags it up on the date and everything like that?
Yeah. So if we go on the right-hand side here, you'll see it's published on this day.
Right.
You can choose that. You can set a date in the future and it'll auto-publish it if you like. Or you can go back in time, yeah. If you pop it back in time, though, it's not going to show up as the first article on your blog page.
Of course. Okay. Right.
So here we've got our the one I've just done, which is the 11th of October. And they can click through to read more. And then this one's the 10th of August, etc.
Right. And then there's an example right in the bottom, Luke, of a blog that just looks a little bit plain and boring. And
yeah. So this one has no picture, so it doesn't look as interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the neat thing about a blog is if you do put an image to it and you link to it from your Facebook or from LinkedIn, it will take that picture.
That's right. Yeah, it'll preload that picture and it'll make that link look more exciting across social media as well.
Yeah, without even adding the image in your social media.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Sorry I rushed you at the end there, Luke, but that's, I think even for myself, I get a little bit scared when I have to do a little bit of, we'll call it developing loosely, and adding text and things, but I guess what you've done here is you've just empowered people and just shown people how easy it really is to add new content, add new services. If you've got an e-commerce store and you're looking to add products, I dare say it would be very simple as well. And we could certainly show you through that if you're wanting to in a one-on-one session. What we might do though now is pause and just go into some quick Q&A, and then I'll let everyone get off to their lunch break, or if you're over in Perth, maybe your morning tea. So I'll just swap seats with Luke. If you haven't noticed, there is a Q&A box there on your screen, so please do feel free to open it up and pop a question in there if there's something that's sprung to mind during the presentation. Just bring this up here. So, what questions do we have? Question from Olivia: can you upload videos via the media library?
Yes, you can, Olivia, but I would recommend putting them on YouTube instead, because YouTube's going to process the videos a lot quicker. It's going to auto-optimize for the visitors' bandwidth. So, if they're on a slow connection, it's going to reduce the quality of the video so that they're not sitting around forever waiting for it to play.
Right.
If you add the video to YouTube first, it's as easy as copying the link and then just pasting it into the page or the blog article that you're using. Or if you're using Visual Composer, you can go add YouTube video.
Right.
It's very easy to implement them that way, and I would definitely prefer to do that over adding them to the image library.
Okay, good. We had that recently, didn't we, with the client, and that was the exact piece of advice you gave to them as well. Also, I have a question from Gareth. What will change if I switch my CMS to WordPress? Well, that's a bit of a broad question, isn't it? What will change? I guess it depends what you're currently using, Luke.
Yeah. There's multiple CMSs out there. If you're using one of our older CMSs that Webfirm created, it's going to give you a lot more power and functionality to give you access to change things. So a lot of CMSs can be locked down, not giving you access to areas that you want to edit. WordPress will make everything a bit more user-friendly for you to control the content. So, and as Tristan said earlier, it's open source. It gets updated all the time. It's very popular. I can't think of anything bad to say about it.
Yeah. Anything to add there, Tristan?
Yeah, I suppose it's just a matter of the great thing about WordPress is that when you start using it, it's got everything built in, and then you need to take functionality out if you want to simplify it. So if you're used to just having a few things that you can change in your website, it's just going to make it so much more powerful for you to be able to make it sing for your business.
Yeah, I think that's the key word there. It's power. It just gives you extra power to be able to ramp things up, both from the aesthetic side of the design of the website through the online marketing and the rankings as well. We've got another question from Sarah. I don't know what CMS my site has. How do I tell? How do I get a WordPress CMS? So if you're not sure currently what content management system your website is on, probably the easiest thing is to get on the phone and call us. Our contact details are there up on the screen there. Please give us a call. More than likely, we've probably built it, so we will definitely know what content management system it is. There's websites out there that you can run checks on that can tell you what CMS your website is as well.
That's right.
Next question from Amber: can you manage or edit two websites on the same WordPress login?
No. You're better off having two content management systems for each of the sites.
Right.
Yeah, there is a way that you can have what we call a multi-site WordPress sort of setup, which allows you to have one login and run two sites off the same WordPress dashboard. Typically, we don't go down that path, except in some very specific circumstances. But Amber, if you can get in touch and let us know what your circumstances are, we might be able to advise on the best way of going about things there.
Mm-hmm. Really good question here from Sally, and I'm glad this has been asked because I would love, we didn't actually get to show people through this. What if I break my website?
Using the content management system, so if we're talking about WordPress, you know, I wouldn't worry about breaking the website. I'd rather everyone, you know, have a go of editing the website and getting comfortable in how to use it. Even if you're just changing around, you know, pages and things like that, just use the preview button instead of update. The preview button will show you what's going to change before you have to save the change.
Right.
In most cases, there's a revision history built into WordPress as well, so you can actually relatively simply roll back to an old version of a page or a post if you make an edit. And then if you're hosted with Webfirm as well, we take nightly backups so that you can call us up if things go really bad, and we can roll back to the previous night's version.
Yeah. If you're not sure how to access, and I don't, you know, you probably don't know how to access the revisions, it's relatively simple. Give us a call and we can show you how to do that if you are looking to make regular changes to your website. Question here from Judith: can we add payments to forms?
Yes, you can. You would probably sorry, it'd be better to give me a call, Judith, to have a chat about that, just to see how we could implement it the best for you. If a payment gateway was attached to the forms, you've got to think about who the payment gateway is. So you might, you could hook it up to PayPal or your bank or eWay, but it's a bit more complicated making sure those settings work.
Yeah, it's effectively turning your website into an e-commerce website in a roundabout sort of way, isn't it?
Yeah, anything that takes payments online would be classed as e-commerce.
I don't think we don't have any other questions at this stage. Any closing words from yourself, Luke or Tristan, before we wrap things up and let people get into their sandwiches?
No, it's been great to have everyone log on today, and really encouraging to see the interest in WordPress and learning a bit about how to operate your websites. So again, we'll just say if there's anything we can help with, get in touch. I don't think our phone number is listed up there, but as usual, it's 1300 932 347. Please give us a buzz and we can give you a hand with whatever you need.
Yeah, absolutely. Echo everything Tristan has just said. From looking at the attendees today, the large majority of you do have a WordPress website, so it's excellent to see that you're looking to engage and hopefully get skilled up on how to make those changes. Some of you have new WordPress websites, some of you have websites that were built maybe a couple of years ago using WordPress. From whatever end of the spectrum you're at, if you're wanting to change things, improve things, update things, add new functionality, please do give us a call. We're more than happy to help out. As we've shown you today, there's a multitude of plugins out there that we can utilize to give your users and audience a much more interactive experience, which is always good for user engagement and also rankings from an online marketing standpoint. So please do get in contact. We'd be more than happy to have a chat. But other than that, have a great Wednesday. Thank you for joining us, and do watch this space for the next webinar in the series. Thank you.
Thank you.